The morning the notice was nailed to the oak at the edge of my drive, I knew my quiet years were over. It wasn't the first time the Homeowners Association had pushed its weight around, but this one cut deeper than all the others. The letter declared that, effective immediately, the roadway extending from Ridgeview Drive into private lots is hereby incorporated under HOA jurisdiction. In plainer words, they had taken my road. My road. The strip of gravel that my father and I had laid down 40 years earlier. The one my mother had walked barefoot on during summer evenings. The one that carried my children in and out of their home. To the HOA, it was just a convenience, a shortcut for residents, a way to control traffic. To me, it was history. It was family. It was mine. When I marched into their monthly meeting that night, I didn't come to yell. I came with photographs, deeds, and worn-out shoes from walking the same strip since I was a boy. I laid it all before the table of neighbors-turned-enforcers, people who once borrowed sugar from my late wife, but now wore smug smiles under fluorescent lights. They didn't even look at the papers. One of them, a man named Carl with a tie far too tight for his thick neck, said, "This isn't personal, Frank. It's just community progress. You'll still have access. Still have access." As if I should be grateful they were letting me walk across my own land. That night, I sat on the porch with a cigar and the memory of my father beside me. He had built everything with his hands. Fence posts, barns, even the pond that still glistened under the moonlight. He used to say, "When someone takes what's yours without asking, they aren't neighbors anymore. They're thieves wearing handshakes." I thought about that, and I thought about the growing fleet of shiny cars the HOA board loved to park along my road, blocking me in like I was some tenant on borrowed ground. For weeks I stewed. I tried reason, letters, even hiring a lawyer who told me, with a shrug, that fighting them in court would take years and drain the little retirement I had left. Every morning I drove down my road, slowing to squeeze between SUVs and polished sedans, feeling like an intruder in my own driveway. Every evening, I sat on the porch and felt my chest grow tighter, my patience thinner. Then one afternoon, I noticed something. All their cars, every last one, sat there unattended during their monthly potluck at the clubhouse. Dozens of them, lined like ducks on my land, the owners inside laughing over casseroles and gossip. My road looked less like home and more like a dealership lot. And that's when the idea took root. It wasn't anger that drove me. It was something quieter, steadier, the kind of resolve you get when life has pushed you into a corner and the only way out is through. I knew I couldn't outshout them, couldn't outvote them, but I could remind them, in a way they'd never forget, that what's mine is mine. The plan took weeks. I borrowed a flatbed tow from a friend who owed me favors. I talked to a cousin who ran a storage yard just past the county line. I mapped routes, tested locks, practiced under the cover of night. No one noticed the old man with the flashlight, the one they had already dismissed as stubborn and bitter. That was my greatest advantage. They underestimated me. The night of reckoning came on a Saturday. The board had organized a community bonfire at the clubhouse. Music, marshmallows, speeches about togetherness. I waited until the laughter rose high, until the last taillight vanished from my drive. Then I set to work. One by one, I hooked their cars, lifted them onto the flatbed, and drove them out. Quiet roads, careful turns, steady hands. I moved them like chess pieces into the yard my cousin had cleared for me. It took 6 hours. 6 hours of sweat, diesel, and the ghost of my father's nod guiding me. By dawn, my road was empty. Clear. Mine again. I stood there as the sun rose, gravel crunching beneath my boots, and for the first time in months, I breathed easy. The chaos that followed was something to behold. Neighbors stumbled out the next morning, finding nothing where their gleaming machines had been. Panic spread. Accusations flew. The HOA held an emergency meeting, faces red and voices louder than church bells. They talked theft, vandalism, police. But here's the beauty of it. Not one of them dared to knock on my door. Not one dared accuse me outright. They knew. Deep down, they knew. The police came, of course. They asked questions. I told them the truth. The cars had been parked on my private property without permission. I had them removed. The law was on my side, though it twisted their faces to admit it. You could see the shame dripping off the HOA board when the officer explained trespassing to them, explained that property lines matter more than potluck committees. The cars were eventually returned, after fees were paid, after tempers cooled. Some neighbors never forgave me. Some avoided me entirely. But the board, oh, the board, they never parked on my road again. They never even looked me in the eye. And for the first time in years, I walked my gravel drive without weaving between strangers' bumpers, without feeling like a guest in my own story. I didn't win by shouting louder. I didn't win by fighting dirtier. I won by standing in the truth of what my father taught me. That when people forget respect, you teach it to them, not with cruelty, but with clarity. As the years passed, I came to see that night not as revenge, but as a lesson. Neighbors came and went. The board changed hands. The road remained. My grandchildren visit now, kicking stones just as I once did, laughing on the same gravel my father once laid. And sometimes when they ask why the cars don't park there anymore, I smile and say, because this road remembers who it belongs to. Life is funny that way. You spend years thinking you're powerless, thinking the world has shifted too far for one person to make stand. Then something reminds you, maybe it's a road, maybe it's a memory, that what matters most is not letting others decide your worth. We all get pushed. We all get tested. But dignity, once taken back, is a road no one can steal again.